you guys ready to go? Okay. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I decided when I was first elected in 2019 that I would not serve more than 2 terms. I'm so proud of everything we achieved. Obviously, this was a difficult decision, but today I am announcing that I will keep my promise not to seek more than 2 terms and will not be seeking a 3rd term for Harris County Judge. I'm making this announcement now so that candidates have time to get in the race and we can have a well-run, competitive race for county judge. I never ran for office to build an empire. A central value in democracy is we don't elect kings or queens, and that's why my plan was to act differently from folks sometimes in county government and not try to build an empire. That's literally what our country was born against. Washington obviously recognized this. The people recognized this after World War II. It's in our Constitution. I don't exactly know what's next, but what I can tell you is that I plan to stay involved in public service. I've learned so much in this job. This is not my farewell speech. I am laser focused on my job right now and committed to the work ahead for the next year and a few months. I'm very proud of what we've achieved so far in my almost 7 years in office. I'm proud that we reduced homelessness by 21% since 2019, even during the pandemic. I'm proud that we helped more than 60,000 families access high-quality early childhood education. I'm proud that we've made our community safer by investing more money in law enforcement than any other county judge in history, and by widening our portfolio of other ways in which to reduce crime. But there are a lot of other things I'm proud of. I'm proud of the way we've handled emergencies, even while doing so many things. I'm proud that we got a major investment in the maintenance of flood control projects. We've been able to carry those out, and we helped advocate for voters to approve a historic $1 billion bond. I'm proud of the investments in mental health, the way we've changed the conversation around mental illness. I'm proud that we're taking the mantle to promote Harris County abroad. But what I'm most proud of is this community. With this job, I have fallen more in love with Harris County. There are many other places where we have politicians of all stripes, but not many where a 26-year-old immigrant can be elected the county executive. When my family came to the United States, Houston Harris County was the shining city on a hill, and it still is for me. So it continues to be a privilege to be your county judge, and a privilege and an honor to represent you all, and I look forward to the rest of my term. I will take any questions. Actually, let me repeat in Spanish. Cuando fui elegida en 2019, anuncié que no serviría más de 2 mandatos. Me enorgullece mucho todo lo que hemos logrado y esta fue una decisión difícil. Pero el día de hoy estoy anunciando que mantendré mi promesa y no me postularé a un 3er mandato. No me involucré en la política para construir imperios. Es un valor central en nuestra democracia, una fundación que no tenemos ni reyes ni reinas. Cuando nos rebelamos contra la monarquía inglesa, ese fue el principio. Entonces es por eso que estoy cumpliendo esa promesa. Estoy anunciando mi decisión el día de hoy para permitir tiempo a que candidatos se postulen para la posición de Condado Harris y pueda haber una contienda competitiva. Este no es mi discurso de despedida, todavía me queda más de 1 año en esta posición. Sigo con un enfoque total en mi cargo y sigo muy comprometida al trabajo que queda por hacer. Algunos de los avances del progreso que hemos logrado, que quiero nombrar. Hemos ya trabajado por casi 7 años. Me enorgullece que reducimos la indigencia por 21% desde el 2019, aún durante la pandemia. Me enorgullece que hemos ofrecido educación de primera infancia de alta calidad a más de 60,000 familias. Me enorgullece que hemos creado un condado más seguro al hacer la inversión más grande en la historia de nuestro condado para la fuerza policial y la seguridad pública. Y además hemos invertido en nuevas estrategias para atacar el crimen. Y hay más cosas aún. Me enorgullece la manera en la cual hemos manejado las emergencias, aún con muchas cosas que hacer. Me enorgullecen los programas de mantenimiento de proyectos de inundación, los proyectos que hemos creado y el dinero que hemos podido recibir del gobierno federal. Me enorgullecen las inversiones en la salud mental y cómo se ha cambiado la conversación en cuanto a las enfermedades mentales. Y además, me enorgullece el haber podido asumir la responsabilidad de promover al condado Harris en el extranjero. Pero lo que más me enorgullece es nuestra comunidad. Año tras año me he enamorado aún más de este condado y de su gente. Cuando llegué a ese país hace ya, 20 años, era un faro de esperanza, como para muchos inmigrantes. El día de hoy lo sigue siendo. Y es para mí un privilegio y un honor poderlo representar. Como he dicho, no ha terminado mi mandato. Agradezco a los votantes al creer en mí y ha sido y continúa siendo un privilegio. Okay, I'll take any questions.
Judge, you have another year obviously left, but you mentioned a string of accomplishments. Any regrets and or goals that you haven't been able to accomplish to this point?
Yes, I mean, look, everybody makes mistakes. And so something that comes to mind immediately is during COVID, we were all doing the best that we could. One thing that I wish I had not done was to shut down the schools, and certainly for as long as we did. My understanding was the spread was going to be very significant in schools. That's sort of what logic told the scientists. Turned out not to be the case. And I remember at the time a colleague from the opposing party in the legislature calling me and saying, Judge, especially for the kids that have special needs, you really shouldn't do this. And of course, I considered what he said. I disagreed, but he was right. So that's one of the things that I'm thinking about. As far as additional areas of focus, obviously emergency response is always a big one. Crime prevention is always a big one. Those are sort of given. But on top of that, more proactively, mental health. It's a big need. It's only gotten worse since the pandemic. And so we've invested a lot in it, more counselors in schools, more training for mental health professionals, support for people facing addictions, but there's more to do there. The issue of stray dogs, it's not a sexy one, but it's a big problem in many parts of the county. And these dogs, they create a big problem for families and for children in the area. And then with the World Cup coming, the issue of human trafficking, we all know it's a big issue, especially around NRG. We've done work around it, many community efforts that are wonderful, and I want to also make the county a little bit bigger part of that.
Judge, we've seen some really public disagreements between you and some of your colleagues in recent weeks especially. Can you just peel back the curtain for us a little bit and tell us what the working relationship has been like with them and how that may have played into this decision?
So it has not played into this decision. And remember, I made this decision 2 terms ago. I made this decision 2 terms ago. I won't say that I didn't consider running again. I did. And that's what took me a little bit of time, because once you're hitting the deadline, you might, I think it's natural to wonder, okay, did I make the right decision? But ultimately, I did. I'll tell you what, I've learned a lot throughout all this time. And I've learned also from this time with my colleagues. There are disagreements, and I think people will know if there's anything I am, is a fighter, and I am persistent, and I am energized by a fight, and sometimes my devotion to issues may come across as offensive to some, but I don't apologize for it, and everything I've advocated for has been nothing to advance my own interests, but in fact, the interests of the community. Sometimes you have to compromise, and sometimes you have to advocate. But I frankly think that this thinking of compromise as the end-all be-all is not quite right. I think we have learned that sometimes, especially these days, that's not the way to achieve things.
Judge, ¿cuál es el mensaje para la comunidad hispana que al verla se sentía representada y ahora puede sentir una incertidumbre de qué es lo que va a pasar después?
Sí, bueno, primero a la comunidad les agradezco mucho el haber confiado en mí y yo entiendo, miren, para mí la decisión fue difícil, especialmente por esa pregunta. Yo sé y conozco gente cuando estoy en la comunidad que me dice gracias por representarnos, gracias por hablar el español. No todo el mundo me apoya, obviamente, pero sí es mi meta representarlos a todos. Y bueno, la verdad es que no puedo ser tan arrogante como para pensar que soy la única persona que puede representar apropiadamente la comunidad latina. Entonces confío en que la persona que la comunidad elija también tenga ese compromiso y sepan que yo no me iré por siempre. O sea, el hecho de que empecé este mandato el primero a los 26 años significa que hoy día terminando 8 tengo 34. Entonces me queda tiempo, planeo regresar para seguir estando involucrada y bueno, les agradezco más que nada.
Cuando dice estar involucrada, ¿usted piensa buscar otro puesto político? No necesariamente en el condado, pero en la ciudad o en el estado.
Mi meta es esa, me gusta obviamente el servicio público, pero también específicamente la política. And there's something that was asked that I want to just touch on, and it's about, are you letting some people down, whether it be the Hispanic community, or even now there's a very difficult political situation, certainly an important election coming up, and it's not something that I did not consider. What might people think? Might people think that I'm giving up during a difficult time? And I don't want that to be the takeaway. And here's why I ended up not making my decision based on that. Because I can't be arrogant enough to think that I'm the only person that can be there and make a difference and inspire people in that way. I trust that my successor will do that too. And frankly, in terms of coming back to public service, etc. I've been through a lot. We've been through a lot, right? From the fires and the floods and COVID to the political prosecution to, the discord lately. What I've taken away from it is this experience and ability to face politics and policy and keep going. And really not let that stick, not let it get to me. People tell you all the time, just let it go, don't take it so much to heart, but it's easier said than done. And on this side of all of that, on this side of my mental health leave, I can say I have done it. I know how to do that, and that means that I can be in these kinds of positions more sustainably. I just don't think this is a role I should have for 12 years.
So, Judge,
Let me, yeah, and then go to, excuse me?
What conversations, if any, have you had with entities outside of government as to where you might serve next?
None. I'm not, have not been trying to look for another job just yet. I have been totally focused on my position. I plan to continue focused on my position. The only thing I can say is I'll remain involved in public service. I don't know in what capacity, and I can't know. It's early, I have a year, and of course I was focused on my job and my decision.
Did you consider?
Just emotionally, I want to know where you're at emotionally. Is it a happy day for you, sad day for you? Where are you?
I mean, it's a mixed bag. I feel really confident in the decision. Sometimes your gut just tells you if something's right, and it absolutely feels like the right thing. And I pride myself in keeping my promises, and from that side, if it's the right decision for me as well. But of course, once the year is out and next year and the term is over, I'm sure I will miss it. I'm sure I will. I love the job. I love the team. I've learned to master it in many ways and not let it eat me up. But, it's time for a change. I believe in fresh perspectives. I mean that. I don't just say it. I think that's part of the reason we don't want empires. I don't think I have that fresh perspective anymore. It's mostly what I've been thinking already. And so I think somebody else needs to come in and bring that. And that's why I fought so hard for ethics reform too, because when you have politicians that have unlimited coffers, can give hand-give contracts to their donors, well then they're not accountable to voters anymore. They can win no matter what. And yes, let me take your question here.
Yes, did you consider CD 29 or CD 18? I have a second question as well.
Why don't you ask this
Did you
second one real quick?
consider
Yeah,
those
I heard
two?
that one. Yeah.
Did you consider running for those positions? or-
No. So I knew that there was no not going to be any involvement in that way from me this political cycle.
All right, and my next question is, when you see Commissioner Rodney Ellis here, just speak of, I mean, I see it as a division, but you and him have continued to have that partnership. Does this speak to like where we are as a county as far as the division among the commissioners and yourself?
Look, not everybody's going to agree with you. Sometimes it's time to agree, sometimes it's time to disagree. I'm very proud of the work we've achieved together as a court, and in particular with my strongest ally, and I feel very confident and very proud that I'm standing on what I believe is better for the community. You will not see me making votes that are sort of puzzling, and that makes my job easier because I don't have to do mental gymnastics to try to explain to myself why the decision I made was a good one. I know it is. It's the best. I mean, I'm not going to always make the right decision, but I'm going to strive for it anyway. I'm not trying to satisfy any special interests. If I were, I'd want to extend my tenure as long as possible, just like my predecessors have.
While you're standing here announcing this decision, are you also saying you will run for office again in a different capacity someday?
So, because we're in a county building, I cannot answer that question so explicitly. I will say I love the work I've done. I've learned a lot about how to make it sustainable, how to do it well. I'm not perfect. I'm still learning, obviously, but it's. I do want to stay involved in public service. And
Eventually, will you?
let me take his question and then.
Puesto
Yeah.
todavía le queda más de un año en el cargo. ¿Cuáles van a ser sus prioridades? Y si inmediatamente después del 31 de diciembre de 2026 va a aspirar a otro puesto político.
Bueno, mis prioridades para lo que queda del mandato, como siempre, el manejo de emergencias, seguridad pública y obviamente las inundaciones. Pero en cuanto a algo más proactivo, el tema de salud mental, especialmente en los niños, ha crecido muchísimo desde la pandemia. El tema del tráfico de personas siempre ha sido un problema en el condado, especialmente ahora que viene el mundial. Y finalmente, como sabe, inclusive es frecuente en ciertas comunidades latinas, lo que son los perros callejeros. Son un peligro para las familias, para los niños. Entonces, son esos más o menos los temas. En cuanto a después de mi mandato, no sé hoy día qué es lo que voy a hacer, pero lo que sí sé es que va a ser en servicio de la comunidad. No voy a postular para ningún cargo en este ciclo político y ya veremos, pero por ahora mi enfoque es 100% en mi trabajo.
What's your advice to any of those seeking to replace you, and at some point will you endorse one of them?
I said that I did not come here to build an empire, and I'm not trying to build one through somebody else. So I think that I will stay out of it. In terms of advice, look, I hope that I've set a good tone in terms of really trying to serve everybody, trying to keep us accountable, build those barriers, so to speak, whether it be asking the auditor to look at things more closely, building a larger courtroom so the public can come, making the agenda easier to read, making a budget book that's logical. I mean, you have to remember, when we got here, the budgets were sitting on when we got here, the departments were sitting on $130 million, just squirreled away. County government, you really could barely read the agenda, and the meetings were 45-minute long. I don't know how they managed to do all of this in 45 minutes. So my commitment has been to really open the doors of county government. We're not done by any means. We're still trying to work on, for example, the invoicing system, continue to improve it to make sure all our vendors are paid on time. We improved the systems behind all our justice infrastructure. But anyway, that focus on transparency, and during emergencies, when I have a decision to make, a key principle, err on the side of transparency. And then the second thing I will say, and remember this is not my farewell, so maybe I'll think of something else a year from now, but is to just follow your moral compass. I think that when you get into politics, no matter how old or young or man or woman or whatever, it's very easy because of what we see in the news, what we see in popular culture, to think that in order to be a successful politician, you have to engage in doublespeak, satisfying special interests, and voting in ways that are not right. And I think I'm a good example that, you might be maligned anyway. They had to create a new version of Lina Hidalgo to run against me. They couldn't run against my record. So you may find obstacles anyway. But it's okay. It's possible still to win, and it makes the job that much easier.
Judge, what do you believe your legacy will be as Harris County Judge?
I hope we're not talking about legacy too much quite yet. I think obviously I have some time left here. Hopefully my career in public service is not over. I hope that folks will remember my concern for the community, first and foremost, my commitment to children, my commitment to transparency, and we'll see what else happens in this coming year.
Judge, can you talk about the timing that you decided to make this announcement right in the midst of budget discussions and a couple months after you first said that it would take weeks for you to kind of make this announcement?
Yeah, I get it. I mean, look, it's been making me really uncomfortable that I delayed this for so long. When I said a couple weeks, I meant 2 weeks. Like, I'm not the kind of person that means, 5 weeks and says a couple. But because I was seeing where the county was headed, a very problematic fiscal situation, I believe, and one that's going to compound over time, that was weighing on me a bit more on the side of running again. Doesn't mean I would have won, but at least trying. But ultimately, the decision was, look, I made a promise. I don't need to be here for 12 years. I'm not indispensable. Nobody is. And it's time to pass the baton. As to why I made the decision in the middle of budget season, I wouldn't read anything into that. I just did it as soon as I felt confident in it, and this is when it came down, and I didn't want to wait any longer because I want to allow time for candidates to jump into the race and run a competitive campaign.
What was the one thing that made you make the decision after the time you're saying that it took?
I think going back to, values, right? I always try to anchor myself in that, and I really do believe that these executive positions should have term limits. And particularly now, when we're talking about, a third term at the federal level, I just thought, with everything going on, I want to sort of put my money where my mouth is and act on those values that I have. This is a value of fulfilling promises, so I did that. I have a value about really supporting and trying to contribute to democracy in my mind, in my small way. I'm doing that. And then I think ultimately it just felt like the right thing.
You
Okay.
mentioned that you had said this before. I'm holding a 2022-2021 Q&A about you saying that you had thought of it as maybe doing 2 terms as opposed to 3. Why are we just now hearing about that conversation resurrected when there's been speculation about your decision this far?
Yeah, so from the minute I got in, I wanted to do 2 terms, to the point that my advisors kept telling me not to keep talking about that. I mean, they were being as polite as they could, but they were like, Lina, once you run, hopefully get in for a 2nd term, like, you're gonna lock yourself into this. But I knew that that's what I wanted to do. As to why it's taken so long and why we haven't highlighted it, it goes back to this point about once you encounter the actual situation, I think it's human nature to say, wait, do I actually want to do that? And so I second-guessed myself for a bit. I thought about it. I thought I might jump in, and then I said, you know what? No, this is not the right decision for me or for the community. I think this is the right one. All right. Thank you guys so much.